For a plastic body, here as our lesson is mechanical properties of solids, so here in this lesson we are going to discuss about elasticity as well as plasticity. So but mainly it is about elastic bodies. Now first let me take for an elastic body, now let me take one wire which is suspended from a fixed support. This is support and a wire is fixed here. Here it is having a fixed length. The initial length of this one is L. So when it is suspended, the original length of this wire is L. Now, if you suspend some load here, let us say mg load. So due to this load, what happens? The length of the wire slowly increases. So here this length will increase to here, up to here. So let us say this is the new length. This is the change in length of the wire, delta L. Now, when this load is applied, the extension produced in the wire is delta L. Now, if you apply more load, the change in length will be more. That we know. If you apply more load here, if you suspend more load, the length, increase in length in this wire will be more. But why? For this particular load, the extension only this much. Why it is not increasing continuously? Why? Because remember, whenever this force is acting downwards, that is mg force, a restoring force will be developed in the wire also. A restoring force. When this, let us say this is a 1 kg stone. If 1 kg stone is suspended here, first it will elongate this one, because that means this force, which we call it as a deforming force. This load is called a deforming force. This deforming force is changing the configuration of the molecules within this one. So previously, let us say they are separated by some distance. Now due to this load, the molecular distance, the interatomic distance will increase here. Whenever the interatomic distance or intermolecular distance increases, that means this is changing the configuration of this wire. That's why this is called, it is changing the formation of particular position of these molecules. That's why it is called deforming force. So at the same time, a restoring force will develop here. That already we studied there in the previous class. So that deforming force which is produced between the molecules will try to bring them to their original position. So these are the two molecules. Due to load it is going down, but due to different portion or the intermolecular force it will go up. So now when these two forces are equal and opposite, initially let us say this is 1 Newton. What is the restoring force developed here? This is 0.1 Newton. Due to this, the downward force is more, upward force is less, downward force is more. So that's why the length of this wire will increase in this direction. Now 1 Newton force is only acting here, but the restoring force will increase slowly. So within a small span of time, this force also will become 1 Newton, which is acting upwards. So this is 1 Newton, this is also 1 Newton. When these two forces are equal and opposite, then this system will come to equilibrium. It cannot elongate beyond that point. So this condition is called equilibrium condition. Whenever this wire comes under equilibrium condition, the elongation will stop. Elongation will stop. That's why if you apply more force here, instead of 1 Newton, let us say if you apply 3 Newtons, equilibrium will reach at that point where the restoring force is also equal to 3 Newtons. Remember students, all the materials cannot produce this restoring force which is exactly equal to the deforming force. But generally, for elastic bodies, as we are discussing about elastic bodies, the applied force or deforming force will be equal to the restoring force developed within this body. So when these two forces are equal and opposite, then it will reach the equilibrium position and the wire will not elongate beyond that point. Now, in this case, here the restoring force developed per unit area of that body is called stress. But why we are taking only the unit area, why not the length or why not the volume here? Now, if you take two springs here, let us say this is one spring, this is another spring. Now, if you suspend 1 kg body here, if you suspend 1 kg body here, let us say this wire break somewhere here, but it is not breaking. Reason is, even though these two are made of same material, the cross-sectional area, that means the load, the capacity of holding this load will depend upon the area. That's why we are comparing these two. We need to take materials, that means springs made of same material, having same length as well as same cross-section. So that's why here, the restoring force developed per unit area of this body, I am not taking the surface area, only the cross-sectional area, is known as a stress. So what is stress produced in a solid due to the application of deforming force? So this is nothing but, stress is nothing but the restoring force developed per unit cross-sectional area. So stress is denoted with force by area is the unit. So what is the SI unit under dimensional formula? In some books it is denoted with sigma. This is the symbol sigma for stress. So this is force by area. So what is the SI unit of stress? Stress is measured by force by area. Force is Newton, area meter square, or Newton per meter square is the SI unit of stress. In some, it is also equal to Pascal. Simply symbol is PA, or we can write Pascal. So this is the unit, SI unit of stress. So what is the dimensional formula here? Force is MA, that is M. L T minus 2 is the dimensional formula for acceleration. By area, L square LL get cancelled. M power 1, L power minus 1, T power minus 2. So this is the dimensional formula for stress. But here we have three types of stresses. At the same time, whenever stress is acting on a particular body will undergo some change. Either it is change in length, or change in area, or change in volume, or maybe change in the shape of it. That's why stress can be divided into three types, and the corresponding change produced here is also called a strain. So what is meant by strain here? Now, here strain can be defined as the change in dimension produced for a body. Change in dimensions produced in a body to its original dimension. So now this is a change. Change means it may be increase in length or decrease in length, or it may be increase in volume or decrease in volume. That's why I am not writing increase or decrease. This is change. So whenever there is change in some dimension, that is length, volume or shape, to its original dimension, this ratio is called strain. So what is strain? Strain is equal to change in dimension by original dimension. Now here, if you consider the length only, the length of this rod, so what is the corresponding strain produced in this one when a force is acting in this direction? So now I am going to erase this one. Here the strain can be divided into three types. The first one is a longitudinal strain. So this is a strain. First of all, what is the SI unit and dimension formula for this one? Here, this is a dimension, that is length, this is original length, length by length. So this is change in length by original length, change in area by original area, change in volume by original volume. So both are similar quantities. So it has no SI unit. So strain has no unit. No unit here. Similarly, the dimension formula also, change in length is L, original length is L by L. No dimensions or dimension formula. So strain is a physical quantity which has no unit and no dimension formula. Because in competitive exams, sometimes they may ask you to find out the physical quantity which has no unit and no dimension formula. In that, one of them is strain and the other one is coefficient of friction, where it is the ratio between frictional force by normal reaction, both are forces, that is also one of the example. And the coefficient of restitution, we studied this relative velocity after collision by relative velocity before collision has no unit and no dimension formula. And the coefficient of friction, F by R, frictional force by normal reaction, no unit and no dimension formula. And one more physical quantity is strain. So now in the options, suppose if they gave this as the first option, this is the second option, this is the third option, the fourth one will be all the above. So please remember this point, very important point. Now here, what is this strain? How to divide this strain into different parts? Strain means this may be changed in any dimension. So first let me take it about length. Now if you consider this rod of length, original length L, and due to the applied force here mg, the change in length is dl. So now I am going to write change in dimension, I am going to write change in length by original length. So this strain is called a longitudinal strain because it is in the lengthwise. That's why this strain is a longitudinal strain. So as the strain has no unit and dimension formula, even the longitudinal strain has no unit and no dimension formula. So this you can write it as delta L by L. This is the expression for longitudinal strain. So this is the first type of strain that we have studied. Now second type is, if you consider a body which is having some shape, let us say this is a body, if you apply some force here force is acting perpendicular to the area, normal to the area, but here force is acting parallel to this area like this. This is called tangential force. Whenever a force acts on a tangential body, tangentially on a body, now you see this book, so this is a book and these are the papers. Now if you apply some force here, the shape of the nodes has changed here. Now for a small force, see the shape of the body has changed. Length remains same, width, height remains same, but the shape has changed. This strain, corresponding strain, is called a shear strain. The second one is shear strain. So how to find this shear strain? Now whenever this force is applied tangentially, so after a small interval of time, this will change its shape like this. So this red color one is the new shape of this body. Now how to find this shear strain? To find out the shear strains, see this is the change in the position of this edge. So let me take this as a delta L, and this is the height of this body, and this is the change. It means shear strain is measured in terms of angle theta. So, but how to find this value? We know that sin theta is equal to opposite side by hypotenuse. If theta is very small, sin theta can be written as tan theta, which is nearly equal to theta. This is equal to opposite side by adjacent side h. If you want a clarification about this, sin theta is nearly equal to tan theta, that equal to theta, you can write this equation only if theta is very small. And if you have a log book, you can see sin 0.003157 is equal to tan 0.003157 is equal to 0.003157. If theta is very small and theta is measured in radians but not in degrees, theta is in radians, then sin theta is nearly equal to tan theta, and whose value is equal to theta, which is given by opposite side by adjacent side. Here shear strain is given by theta, which is given by delta L by h. This is a change in length. This is height is also one length. Length by length, once again it has no unit and no dimension formula. Now the third one is, suppose if you keep a body, solid body, within a container here having some water. So this is the water. So here in this container, the water is exerting force on all the sides. From all the sides, force will exert on this ball. Let us say this is a small body or ball, any body. Now, due to this force acting on all surfaces, let the size of the body will decrease. So here the volume of the body will decrease. So this corresponding change in volume by original volume is called bulk strain. The third one is bulk strain, also called volumetric strain. The third type is volumetric strain. So how to define this volumetric strain? This is the change in volume by original volume. Change in volume by original volume. So which is given by delta V by V. So this is also strain which is having no unit and no downstream formula, as it is a ratio between two similar quantities. This is volume and volume. So these are the three different strains that you are going to study in this lesson, and what are the corresponding stresses. To produce the longitudinal strain, that means to increase the length, I need to apply force perpendicular to the surface here. Let us say this is the wire suspended here. If I apply force perpendicular to this cross section, then the length of the wire will increase. So here the stress which is corresponding to the increase in length is called tensile stress. So I am going to write the stress that produces the longitudinal strain in a body is called tensile stress. So here the first one is in stress category, the first one tensile or longitudinal stress, also tensile stress. This is equal to, how to find the stress here? The restoring force developed per unit area. So this is the force acting per unit area of this one. Now if you know the force and the area, we can find the tensile stress. This force is always normal force acting. Remember this one, because for this surface the force should be normal. This is not tangential along this one, it is normal to the surface. Normal force acting per unit cross sectional area. So this is a Newton per meter square once again. So this is about tensile stress, which is given by F by A. Now what about the second one, that is shear strain? So this is the corresponding strain which produces this shear strain is called shear stress, or in some books it is also given as tangential stress, because it always acts tangential to this body. So this you can write tangential force acting on unit area. Tangential force acting on unit area, which is given by force is F, area is A only. Once again this is a tangential stress. Now the third one is bulk strain. We call it as bulk stress, which produces that volumetric strain in the body. Here in this example, the force acting on all sides of this one is called bulk stress. So this is also normal force acting on the surface. If you take this surface and this force, this is always 90 degrees perpendicular to each other. So this is also normal force acting on unit area, unit cross sectional area, or simply unit area. So this is force by area. Generally in this case we call it as a pressure acting on that body. So these are the three different types of stresses and corresponding strains. Next we have Hooke's law. So what is the Hooke's law here? So it's the name of a scientist. He gave a law after observing this stress as well as corresponding strains. He gave a relation between stress and strain. Now according to this Hooke's law, within the elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to the strain produced. Now, we know this term stress and we know the meaning of this strain. So whenever stress is more, strain will be more. That we know. If you apply more load here, strain produced or change in length will be more. So we know that these two are directly proportional to each other. That means if you apply 1 Newton, let us say 1 millimeter length has increased. If you apply 2 Newton, increase in length will be 2 millimeter. If you apply 10 Newton, change in length will be 10 millimeter, like that. That means for this stress, strain produced will be related to this one, and means these two are proportional to each other. Now, by why, what is this elastic limit? That means Hooke's law can be applied only within the elastic limit of a body. So what is this elastic limit? So now here I am going to explain this elastic limit. So we can define this elastic limit as the maximum stress up to which a body behaves as an elastic body. So beyond that stress, body will become a plastic body. So the minimum stress up to which body regains its original configuration after removal of deforming force is called elastic limit. Now you see this one, this is a wire which is given here. This is a wire. Now, when I suspended 1 kg mass, 1 kg mass means force is equal to F is equal to mg, which is equal to 10 newtons. So nearly 9.8, but I am taking it as 10 newtons. When 10 newtons force is acting on this one, the corresponding change in length is 1 millimeter. The original length of this one, let us say this is 1 meter. So what is the cross-section area? If you know the cross-section area, you can find the stress, that is force by area, and how to find the strain, change in length by original length. Now, for the same body, if you give 20 newtons, corresponding change in length is 2 millimeter, 30 newton 3 millimeter, 40 newton 4 millimeter. Now, if you remove this 40 newton, if the original length is exactly 1 meter, that means the increase in length was 4 millimeter with the application of 40 newtons. So it regains its original shape as well as length. That means if the body regains its original length, that is 1 meter, then the body's elastic limit is said to be 40 newtons per unit area, because this is not force, this is stress. Stress is 40 newtons by some area. So let us say this is 1 meter square, 2 meter somewhere. Now, if you apply 41 newtons, let us say this is 4.1 millimeter. But if you remove this force, the body or this wire will not get that original, regains original length. The length will not be 1 millimeter, it may be more than 1 meter. That's why this maximum stress, that is 40 newton per some meter square, is called elastic limit. Within this elastic limit only we can apply this Hooke's law. So according to Hooke's law, what we can write? Stress is directly proportional to the strain produced in this body. So from this I am going to write stress is equal to some constant into strain. So here constant generally denoted with letter K, but in this lesson we are going to denote this with the letter E. So this E is called modulus of elasticity. So how to define the modulus of elasticity? So this is given by E is equal, how to write this E value? This is nothing but a stress by strain. So I am going to write this as stress by strain produced. So this is the modulus of elasticity. Now, what is the unit for modulus of elasticity or elastic modulus? First of all, let me find out the SI unit as well as the dimension formula for this one. So stress is measured in Newton per meter square and the strain has no unit. So the SI unit for this one is Newton per meter square only. Similarly, so as there is no unit here, this will be Newton per meter square or Pascal. So both stress as well as modulus of elasticity have same units. Now when they have same units, the dimension formula for this one is ml power minus 1 t power minus 2 by strain has no unit and no dimension formula. So this would be the dimension formula for modulus of elasticity. Now based on this one, as we have three different strains and three corresponding stress, this modulus of elasticity can also be divided into three types. The first one is Young's modulus. So now the modulus of elasticity can be divided into three types. The first one is number one, Young's modulus, denoted with the letter Y. So what is this Young's modulus? Now you just divide the stress by strain, you will get a modulus of elasticity. But if you divide tensile stress with longitudinal strain, you will get a Young's modulus. So the first type, that is length increasing here due to the tensile stress. So this is the tensile stress by longitudinal strain. The ratio between these two is called Young's modulus. So now how to write this one? Y can be written as F by A, that is F by A. This is change in length by original length. So Young's modulus can be written as F by A. This change in length, original length, when it goes that side, it will become L by delta L. So this is the expression for Young's modulus of a body. Now the unit remains as it is, Newton per meter square or Pascal, or dimension formula for Young's modulus is ml minus 1 t minus 2. Now what is the second type of the modulus? That is a ratio between shear stress or tangential stress to the shear strain is called rigidity modulus. The second one is rigidity modulus, generally denoted with neta. This is equal to tangential stress acting on a body to the shear strain produced in the body. Shear strain produced in the body. And if you want to write this expression, this is F by A by theta. This you can write F by A theta. So this is the expression for rigidity modulus, and the universal dimension formula remains as it is. Now the third type of modulus, that is the ratio between bulk stress by volumetric strain, if we call it as a bulk modulus only. So the third type of modulus of elasticity is called bulk modulus. So here I am going to write this third one. This is also the ratio between, if you know these three and these three, and if you know this Hooke's law, you can define all these three types of elastic moduli. One is Young's modulus, second one rigidity modulus, and the third one is bulk modulus. So third one, bulk modulus B, which is given by bulk stress by volumetric strain. This is bulk stress by volumetric strain. Once again, B is given by force by area acting by change in volume by original volume. But force by area is also called pressure acting by delta V by V. Remember students, if pressure is positive, that is force per area, bulk stress, we call it as pressure here. If pressure increases, the volume will decrease. That's why here you have to write minus of delta V by V, because this cannot be negative. So always this modulus should be positive, modulus value, magnitude of this one. That's why if pressure increases, so let us say 10 Newton per meter square minus of change in volume, original volume. If pressure increases, this volume will be negative. So minus of, let us say, 0.01. This is the unit of this. There is no unit. So this is 10 power minus goes to 10 power 3. So minus of minus will become plus. So always this value should be negative. That's why we are using this negative sign here. Suppose if pressure decreasing on this one, then the volume will increase. Then also this pressure will become negative, the volume will become positive, negative can cancel, and once again the bulk modulus will remain as positive only.